And so what you're saying is you believe that Cosby administered these Quaaludes to these girls with their full knowledge and consent that they were actually Quaaludes rather than, some sort of medication that he might be passing them off as.
Free Talk Live.
Gene, the Christian anarchist. Gene joins us from Discord. Gene, you're on Free Talk Live.
Okay, so I'm calling about something I put in the show prep day before yesterday, I think. And that is, I've talked to you in the past about how I don't think that Bill Cosby's guilty. I also don't think Michael Jackson's guilty. And I put some links in the show prep for evidence that supports both those positions. However,
I agree with you on both of those, by the way, or at least I have significant questions about both of those cases.
Yes.
But go ahead.
So what has happened in the last 10 years, I guess, is that sex has become weaponized in a way that I can't even comprehend at this point. It's gotten to be so bad that things that used to be pretty commonplace are all of a sudden worse than illegal. I mean, you're worthy of the death sentence if you do some of the stuff that was pretty common when I was young. Like the 18-year-old thing. That wasn't a big deal back in the 60s.
I hear
but
you,
nowadays they're ready to throw you out of a helicopter. And nobody's trying to support violence or rape or anything like that. I mean, that's absurd. No, people try and switch it around and say, "Oh, well, you're for rape." No, I'm not. That's absurd. But what I'm saying is that things like Quaaludes, and one of the articles I sent to the show prep was an article about what's that other comedian's
Bill Cosby?
No, the Richard Pryor's widow was talking about, how they did sex and had all kinds of drugs in the old days. And Quaaludes was one of the things that they did back then. Quaaludes was a recreational drug. So for Bill Cosby to bring a girl over and offer her Quaalude and to get drunk, that was what was going on back then. This was not a trick.
Right. Well, the claim was that he'd held on to them, right? That he had a big stash of Quaaludes that he held on to for like a couple of decades.
I was going to say, because you can't find those things anywhere.
And so what you're saying is you believe that Cosby administered these Quaaludes to these girls with their full knowledge and consent that they were actually Quaaludes rather than, some sort of medication that he might be passing them off as.
Yeah, the girl's in his bedroom. I mean, coming over to his house late at night to have some drinks and to get high, and then several years later, all of a sudden they come out with these allegations to hang the guy. So what I'm saying is that sex has become weaponized. They're digging things out of the closet that were considered normal at the time and hanging people for it today.
How about the new rules at colleges? Many of these colleges now that require some form of consent, what they call, I think, active consent or something like that, where basically at every step along the path towards intercourse, the person, the male, presumably has to ask for permission.
I'm going to touch your hair.
Is it all right if I
move my hand up your leg? Your hair?
I want to see an active consent porn flick. I want to see what that looks like.
It looks like about 4.5 hours long and boring.
It is horribly scary today. I mean, we have a 25-year-old son, and I'm just glad that he's not involved with any women, because quite frankly, getting involved with a woman these days is dangerous. Like almost a death sentence. It can be. I mean, your life can be totally ruined tomorrow if somebody just makes some accusations that you touched them in the wrong way, or, said, you could even say something to offend them, and they're going to come at you with trying to put you away in prison and hurt you for the rest of your life. It's just the evil and the hate that seems to be generated through sex as a weapon is just, it's scary. It's downright scary.
I get you. Gene, thanks for the call. It's a good point. And we just reached this point of, it's beyond intolerance. It's like nothing can be tolerated. I mean, like no societal norm that we've lived with for thousands of years can no longer be respected. You cannot have it. We have to redo the rules of society to meet this new paradigm, and I don't track.
And it's interesting that this new Puritanism was from the left was kind of introduced as we hate these Puritans on the right, and they're all hung up about sex, and we can't have free speech. So this was during the 60s when, Students for a Democratic Society was a free speech movement.
Yeah.
Now the left is saying, oh, no, free speech is bad. We don't want free speech. You can only speak if you agree with us.
Free Talk Live. Listen live 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern or grab the podcast. It's all at freetalklive.com.